It's Hebrew in the Mornings, Laura Stiles. It's Rosenberg. You may have seen him on CNN. He's an author. He's a journalist. He's a music critic. What else do you do?
Do podcasts, raise kids, work in TV, write books. I'm working on a book that you'll actually be really excited about, I think.
Okay.
Really?
Well,
Two
his name,
books that
his
you'll be
name is
excited about.
Toure. Give it up for him. You've seen him before. You know.
Thank you.
Friend, colleague of mine. Call him a friend. He's a great guy. He's always colleague and friend. I like to go colleague first
I
because
think
that's how we met.
colleague of Jay's.
Why?
Because you've never written anything. You've never spoken.
Well, we both work in media.
Okay, all right, we're
That's
doing
what I
that.
meant. I didn't.
Well,
think-
by that token, we could stand next to so many people if we
But
open
that's what
up
I'm
like
saying.
that.
A colleague.
Okay.
You
All
should
right,
stand
all right.
next to many people, though.
We should try to.
You deserve that.
I appreciate him
He
putting
just
us on
wanted
that
to
pedestal.
discredit anything I was trying
No,
to say.
not
That
you.
was his whole.
I was discrediting both of us. I didn't. I was putting myself too.
I felt that he was doing
Wait,
both
what
of
were
you
you
at the same
first?
time.
What were you first? An author or?
First, I was a writer.
You were a
I was
writer
at
first.
Rolling Stone for about 12 years. Wrote
See?
about Lauren, DMX, Jay, Big. Well, I wrote about Big for the New York Times, but tons of people.
Who did you write about for the New York
Hip-hop.
Times?
No, I just played. I actually made them write about a book.
Okay. Whoa. Okay. Start on
Facts.
them.
Facts.
I know you can say that based on facts.
I'm saying, I played your music so that people like him would want to write about
Well said.
you.
Well said.
After
Facts.
about 12 years there, ended up at CNN.
Yeah.
After that, ended up at MTV2 for a little while. Was at Fuse. Was
So
at
you've done a lot of shit.
MSNBC for
A lot of shit.
several years.
You've done a lot of shit.
Did you put together all the money you made at MTV to infuse and buy yourself a pair of shoes that you really need?
That's a good one. That's good.
I know
No,
it
that's
well.
what's up.
I know
That's
it
what's
very
up.
well.
That's what's up.
But we were talking real quick before we got on the air because obviously you talk about hip hop culture a lot. You
Yeah.
talk about race a lot and all things in American culture. And you were saying, I was saying that I like the fact that I just interviewed an artist who was talking about how he doesn't feel that race or gender issues like that are super significant, are important. And I thought you would respond sort of positively to that, but you were sort of like, that's absurd.
It is absurd.
So what do you
It is
mean?
absurd. What he's showing is his youth and inexperience. Right?
Right.
Race has a massive impact on all of our lives. It is a greater impact than a lot of us even realize from moment to moment. We can talk about interpersonal racism, and for the most part, we can walk around and not have people shout the N-word at us as we're walking down the street. But I'm talking about the matrix, institutional racism, the thing that exists that makes it very, very difficult for most black and brown people to move up in the society. And it doesn't just stop at the working class level. It affects middle class folks. It affects
upper class.
the very few.
I think what this
black
young man
upper
is
class
talking
folks.
about in his infancy, professional infancy, let's call it, is the fact that he walks out on stage a few times a week, and there are people from all walks of life at his shows, enjoying his music. His friends come from all walks of life. And these things that are the hot topics of the day with regard to racism, gender issues, et cetera, aren't prevalent in his immediate world. He knows that they exist, but he hasn't been hit with that as an obstacle yet.
Well,
think
most
that-
kids his age haven't. Like, okay, for instance, right? Spin just did an article on my girls Nina Sky where they really broke down their career and the obstacles that they had to face and the way that the record label at the time had one of them. Nicole is openly gay, and how they used to hush her and they used to tell her, "Don't be open gay because you're not going to be, accepted." Blah blah blah. So she talks about that transition and finally coming out. But a lot of people, I saw some of the tweets and I had a conversation with them about it. How kids are clueless. They don't even see how that's a thing now. They don't understand the struggle that artists had to go through.
But
So
a
lot of them don't even see that that's even possible.
But I have mixed
which is
feelings.
sad.
I have mixed feelings on it because in one sense it's sad, in another sense it's glorious,
Yeah.
and you should let them live that as long as they possibly can.
No. Blindness is not glorious. Ignorance is not glorious. And they're not angry, and I'm not mad at them, but they are under-aware of the world. And I'm not going to celebrate their ignorance or their naivete.
While I see that, this artist who is saying that that's not an issue in his world, not saying he's saying it doesn't exist. That's different.
He's unaware. He's unaware of how it is.
Yeah, but there's a blatant positive note that you're taking out of this. Just real
Right.
quick. In 1995, if there was an aspiring 24-year-old rapper who came out and said that gender meant nothing, meaning I don't care if you're gay, straight, or that would never happen.
No.
You know why? They'd be saying the F word and being homophobic nonstop. Well, to hear an artist now be like, it means nothing, that is progress you can't ignore. That is
Like,
actual
I get what you're
progress.
saying, and I think that is amazing too. But that person should know that it wasn't always like that.
But
though.
the person, you
should
guys,
be
he is
educated.
not saying he lives in La La Land. He's saying in my world today, how I see things for myself.
He's not understanding the entirety of his world.
He's not, because he's only thinking about his immediate surroundings.
But
Right.
even, I mean,
And I said, well, let me finish. I said, I hope that lasts for him as long as it can, because he's not saying it doesn't exist. He's just saying my world that doesn't matter right now.
I would hope for him to wake up. And
Why?
to
That seems so
understand
sad.
the way
He's
the
not
world really
asleep,
is.
though, but he's not asleep.
If he thinks that race does not have an impact on his daily life, then he is asleep.
Not necessarily.
And it may be a blissful sleep, but he needs to wake up.
what if
and
he
But
understand.
not necessarily. Not necessarily.
It just seems like such a pessimistic way of thinking. Like, what if this
No,
artist
it's a realistic way
But what
of
if
thinking.
this artist becomes successful, does really well for himself, makes money, puts his friends on, gets married, lives a life, invests in businesses, does well his whole life, and though, yes, we could look at it from the outside and go, well, if he was white, his life would have been easier and better, etc. But him never dwelling on that and just continuing to push forward in progress, is that a bad thing?
I mean, if this individual is somehow able to find a delusion about American race, and that allows him to then move forward with his artistic career and his social life, and it never affects him. I mean, like, it
Yeah,
never
but we're having
affects him.
different
It's unlikely.
conversations, you guys. We're having different conversations. Toure, you're talking about society as a whole.
Yeah.
We all agree. And I even believe this artist, Smino, would agree with you. I'm specifically talking about his personal day to day.
Okay.
Let me finish. With that, once again, he's not saying it doesn't exist. He's acknowledging that it exists. He's saying, in my world, for me, that's not the filter that I look through when I pick my friends, when I judge my music, when I look at my audience, when my audience judges me. That's not, we know it's out there. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. We understand white supremacy in America is a very real thing. Like,
absolutely.
everyone knows that. But we're having different conversations because on our day-to-day, you living in Brooklyn, him living on the Upper West Side, you living in Spanish Harlem, me living in Jersey City, right? I can go an entire day and not be affected by someone judging me based on my race because of my income. Nobody says anything to me. They may in their mind think certain things, but it doesn't affect me. I know it's there. It didn't stop my money today. It didn't stop my progress today. Matter of fact, I just left a meeting where I made some more money, right, from a mattress company.
ding,
and I'm
ding,
gonna
ding.
and I'm gonna go to another meeting and make even more money on that.
That's what's
but I
up.
know it's there though. You see what I mean? I'm not, and I don't think this artist is saying it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But
I think he's saying for younger artists, a lot of the younger artists, it's just not something that they're thinking about all the time. Their surroundings, their friends,
it's definitely not on
everything's
top of their list
more
of worries.
multicultural, and I think there is a lot of upside to that, even if the problems of the day still exist.
Now, it's a travesty if this artist, Smino, went on to say that other people shouldn't be worried about it.
I mean,
That's the
look,
travesty
I
that
don't
I
know-
think you're talking about.
I don't know this brother, and I'm not talking about him in particular. You just brought up a mindset of a person, so this is nothing about him in particular. I would like to see folk be communally aware, right? Have a macro
But once
perspective
again, he's
on
not
things.
saying he's not aware.
I don't know him in particular, so I can't.
But I'm
not
letting you
parsing-
know he's
but-
not saying he's not
but
aware.
But I'm not really even talking about what this particular specific person said, because a lot of people say those sort of colorblindy things, and I don't find the proposing that I am colorblind is some move forward. You know, it's a move backwards, and a move into blindness is not a positive move.
I think
If we have-
everybody agrees, bro. I think everybody agrees. But
I don't know if I agree with the concept of a step into color blindness is a step backwards.
Well, no, because you're saying that when you step into color blindness, you're acting as if someone's culture or race doesn't matter, because that can also be disrespectful.
Totally.
Don't erase me, right? Don't erase
Totally,
right,
but I
right.
would agree that if in 200 years race doesn't exist at all, that's moving forward, not backwards.
Yeah, but you don't want to ignore.
in the
you don't-
meantime.
But yeah, but even 200 years from now, I wouldn't like to see a place where we don't talk about the mistakes we made,
Right.
and we don't talk about places that we've been that hurt other people based on their complexion or based on, their culture and the way they were judged, whether that's based on gender or sexual orientation or religion or whatever. The same way we can make sure that we don't forget what happened to Jews, and we don't forget what happened to Black African slaves, and we don't forget what happened to Muslims, and we don't forget what happened to Christians, and we don't forget what happened to gays, and we don't forget what happened to, we don't ever want to do that, but we also don't want to continually walk around with the baggage of being like angry at each other and pointing fingers at each other.
How old are your kids, Trey?
My son is 8 and my daughter's 7.
So at what?
And their what ethnic background?
Well, my wife is from Beirut, so you might say they're mixed, but I mean, they're Black.
They appear to society as Black.
Well,
They
my
identify as-
son, who I think you've met,
Yeah, I met your son.
right? He is like Black at a distance kind of kid. My daughter, I think, is completely vague and
Ambiguous.
Ambiguous, and she'll go through life, people constantly saying, "Well, what are you? Are you Black? Are you mixed? Are you Latina? Are you Brazilian? Are you
Arabic?
Are you Arabic? I mean, are you I mean, like, I think she's gonna get people constantly saying, "What are you?" Which is fine. That's her journey.
How much? Like, when do you want them to be aware of racial stuff?
They're going to make some of those decisions for themselves. I'm not going to be like, okay, now you're 12, so now we're going to have this talk.
The race talk, yeah.
I mean, like, as it's something that we're going to learn as we go along. I mean, my son is a really good reader. A couple of years ago, he came home and said, I saw somebody holding a sign that said, "I can't breathe." What does that mean? And we talked about Eric Garner, and he was about 6 at the time. So he didn't fully understand. And I'm trying to not say Black people are lesser, but I want him to understand that Black people are perceived as lesser by other people, and that's wrong, right? We're not treated the same, even though we are the same. So, how do we deal with that? And he was not fully getting it. And the conversation is kind of funny, because the conversation sort of devolved as I'm asking simpler questions to like, no, I'm being too complex. And we finally got down to just, what is a Black person? And he was not aware. And
See, but that
he would, and I'm like, well, Barack Obama and LeBron James. And he's like, okay, I got it. Kevin Durant. Yes. And Tom Brady. No. And he, at
But
6,
then don't you almost feel ashamed for then having to teach him? Be like, no. Don't you think that all people are the same? We have racial lines that were written by people a long time ago to keep us all separately, and you must continue in this tradition.
No.
But that is what it is.
I mean, he needs no help from me in figuring out who is a Black or white person, right? By like age 10, the overwhelming majority of kids will have figured that out. For me to not equip him with a actual understanding of what's going on in America would be criminal on the part of me as a person who understands some of this stuff, right? And they talk about there are race-aware households and race-averse households. And the race-averse household, they don't talk about race. And the kids grow up, they move out of the house, they go to college, and they go into the real world.
Blindsided.
And yes, they get blindsided because they have no emotional and intellectual framework to deal with these issues internally. And somebody who is dealing with these issues all their life says something to them, and they freak out. If you come from a race-aware household, then you're able to deal with these issues, which does not mean I want him to become Malcolm X or not want him to become Malcolm X, but I want him to be aware of the path that he's walking. If he doesn't have this information, he could get killed.
Well, that's the thing at this point that still makes it irresponsible for you not to explain it, right? But there's still something inherently sad about having to explain,
right, but the sadder part is, and this goes back to white supremacy, we're still fearful of articulating race because we still think that one is better than the other inherently. Yeah. That's why it feels bad, right? It feels bad because we have been conditioned to think that because you highlight somebody's race, you're automatically making them separate, right? When really you're not. You're just highlighting.
If we got to a future in 200 years where there was no race, that would be a substantively different America than we have now. I think the diversity is part of what makes America, even when we are sometimes fighting about the diversity. And the election is an interesting example of this, right?
You're a Trump guy also, right?
Yeah, right. Trump is going to win the white vote, right? He's destroying Hillary.
Well,
with
what
the white
percentage
vote.
overall is he expected to get of the white vote?
It's something I mean, the Republicans have been winning the white vote since the late 60s. So he's going to beat her by like 15 points among white people, something like that.
Which is,
it could be 10 points, it could be 20. But
I don't think it'll be 20.
But he could get
I have more faith in you, white America.
but he but he will get destroyed among black and brown people, right? And you know, I mean,
And young people, and young
people,
women
young people
specifically.
Married women will go for him. We don't know what the spread will be, right? Single women will go for Hillary. This just always goes like this. This is the modern template, right? Women in general will go for the Democrats. Single women more, married women less. But I look at this and I'm like, see, black people and brown people are basically saving America from itself. Because if we just let white people make these decisions, we would become very isolationist, very angry, a nation that is very exclusionary. But the black and brown people are saying, no, we reject that. And a significant portion of white folks are rejecting that as well. I don't want to put that under the rug. But as a group, they are saying we like Trump, and as a group, black and brown people are saying, "Fuck." Can I curse on this? Can I curse on this?
I think the number, like, if there's 65% of the
Okay.
country considers themselves white, 30-something% of that usually goes Democrat, or a real significant portion of that white American population.
I mean, part of what Trump is dealing with is that the percentage of white people who vote in the election has been dropping consistently since the mid-'80s. So white people are having less and less control over the outcome.
Well, that's why they are angry.
Yes.
They?
Yes.
They. But I want to go. Let me ask you something, Toure. Do you believe that race should be a part of our census?
It should be part
of our census when they collect data in America.
Absolutely.
And that's because
we should know. We should know who we are as a race. And yes,
but what about
complicated.
nationality, ethnicity, and not race?
I think all of that matters. I mean, look, race is an incredibly important part of America, and even though it makes some people unhappy, it
doesn't make me unhappy. I do believe that we could collect census data without race.
I think we would be leaving an incredibly important piece of information on the floor if we did that.
Well, if I put down my
ethnicity,
and my nationality, right? Why do I also need my race?
But your nationality is American.
Yes.
Right? 99% of people in this country, right, their nationality would
But my
be American.
ethnicity, right, is my father's black and my mother's Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
You would think that would be enough. But without actually then making me take the next step and go, all right, pickle box.
Mm-hmm.
Are you black or are you white?
Not of Latino descent.
I picked black. Matter of fact, one time I took a Sharpie and I just wrote in black on that joint. I don't even do African American. I cross out African American. I put black.
The last time the census came through, my kids were little, and my wife had a little argument about like, well, you shouldn't say that they're black because they're mixed
black,
and blah, 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 blah. And, I might have noticed that it was 11 o'clock and she was sleeping and this had to get done. And so I just did the census and checked them off as black and mailed the thing off. When she woke up, I'm like, honey, I did the census. Kids are black.
Hey, just heads up, kids are black.
What should we make for breakfast? Let's keep moving. It's done.
Also, I just want to say, based on what you were saying moments ago about how basically, essentially, and hopefully, black and brown people have the opportunity to save this country right now. Let me be clear in saying that I hope we can play a part in helping this. If there's a significant decision for black and brown people to vote in even a mildly respectful way, this election won't be close. Let's just be clear about that. All we need is if we could get people to 75% of how they came out for Obama the first time.
Sure.
we're not even talking. This
Sure.
election is over.
Sure.
But the problem is we don't
Trump
know if that'll
just
happen.
keeps going. He keeps doubling down. He disrespected the Muslim family that got up and spoke at the
course.
Democratic National
He
Convention.
keeps
Well, he
disrespecting
sacrificed.
them.
Trump has sacrificed.
He keeps disrespecting them.
Gave people jobs.
Yeah.
He doesn't know. I learned that he doesn't know what the word sacrifice means. That was one of the most telling things I've ever
I
seen.
think I also think he does not know what the word temperament means, right? 'Cause
No.
they ask him that, and he's like, I have a winning temperament. I have one of the best temperaments.
We have a
I
terrific
great
temperament. People love our temperament. The polls show they love us. We're gonna win.
She
We're gonna be
has a
terrific.
losing temperament. What? That's not what that means.
Yo, he literally, all the guy can say is over and over again that people think we're terrific and we're gonna win. It's insane. It is. This can't be life. This can't be
It is,
happening.
fam.
Well, but you know what? The Republican Party has dissolved into a mess. Okay, and that's why their leader is a mess. It's not like he got there through a lottery or through luck. He got there because the party itself is a mess. They've been sold
Well,
lies for
it's
years.
also, if you look at every individual or many of the individuals who have been leadership in the Republican Party, they're individuals who set out for power. They set out to be famous and to be powerful.
But they lied
didn't set out
to their people.
Well, that's
over
a whole.
and over
But I'm just saying
about the importance of government, about the value of government, about the place
Yeah, but
of
that's-
people of color
But
in
that's
this country.
because, but and if you look at a lot of the Democrats, they are lifelong service individuals, people who signed up to do service and, for good or bad, actually believe in our country and helping people. Like that's what and they could be lying too, but they're just doing a better job at it.
No, listen. There's a couple things that I find incredibly interesting. Number one, I have a new hot take on the Republican Party, which is that
I just like when you use hot take.
if Trump gets just soundly his ass kicked soundly in this election, right? Which I'm hoping and think will eventually be what happens. He loses by 10 points or whatever. I actually think this is going to end up being a net positive for the Republican Party, even though it doesn't seem like that's possible. I think at the end, what will emerge from it is them finding themselves as like, we were completely lost. Let's go back to what Republicans actually are. And there is a beauty to that. I had a moment the other day with a kid who was very politically aware and told me the conversation started out with us both bashing Trump. And he's like, I know your politics. I know you're very liberal. He was like, I'm a Republican, blah, blah, blah. And it's funny, the second he said I'm a Republican, once you know that person's anti-Trump, the way you view them as a Republican is completely different than it would have been 10 years ago. 10 years ago, if someone said I'm a Republican, right away I'm like, oh, really? Now, as long as you say you're anti-Trump, we can still have a conversation politically. Let's talk differences.
Sure.
Okay, you're less in favor of certain things that
I mean, there's a class of people who feel the party has left them and moved rightward without them. Abby Huntsman and her father used to talk about that all the time. They were classic sort of the party has left me people
Who are these people?
me. Abby Huntsman, who's on the cycle with me. John Huntsman ran for president, was the governor of
I never
Utah.
knew that lady's name.
Yeah, so I mean,
the lady
Hi,
with
Abby.
him. The lady with him.
The lady with the guy Toure that I know.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's interesting because a lot of time, a while ago,
But Peter, it's like the party has substantively changed. Like they were running a restaurant. It was serving one kind of food, and 1 million people came in and said, "We want the greasiest, nastiest French fries that you got. It doesn't matter if these particular French fries give us diabetes. That's what we want." So they said, "Okay, we'll serve you that." So that's what they're serving. So now to think when all those people find out, oh, the French fries gave you diabetes, and now they're going to change. No, they like those French fries. That's what they want. This is what Republican primary voters want.
Well, but they have to. That's the biggest problem, right? There are two parties. Those are two parties. The people who are actually excited about Trump, I think that scares a lot of classic Reagan Bush conservatives, right? Who are like, what the fuck is this?
Yes.
This is, and by the way, I disagreed fundamentally with those people on tons of things.
Absolutely.
But it's such a far cry from this maniacal, insane thing we're seeing right now.
The
What is a
president
clown?
said,
Guys, this is a clown show.
Well,
It's full-blown-
this is not even
The president really laid it out in a really valuable way yesterday, which I've been thinking about it. That I have deep disagreements with almost everything that Romney believed, that McCain believed, right? That George W. Bush believed.
I love them all comparatively.
But I did
No,
not.
but
But I
I know
did
the
not.
president yesterday.
I did not, and as the president said, I did not think that they were mentally unable to do the job.
He said, the
understood-
president vocalized that yesterday?
Yes, that Mitt Romney could do the job. We disagree. John McCain could absolutely do the job. I disagree with the way
He
would
didn't.
do it,
He
but if
said
could
straight up,
do
I
it-
didn't think they were unfit
Exactly
for the job.
This man is mentally, temperamentally, character-wise unfit. I mean, like, we can't even get to a policy discussion because
You're right.
your personality is
Right.
not. I mean, can you imagine the president beefing with a private citizen? Like, you think the Khan thing is just for the election? No, like he'd be doing shit like that as president.
By the way,
And,
Ebro,
like,
you know what we haven't discussed yet since you got back? What did you think of the fact, and Toure, I wonder if you saw it the same way, that Trump clearly, in my opinion, clearly leaked naked photos of his own wife to
Yes.
the New York Post
Yes.
to get people to stop talking about him fighting with the Muslim family.
Yes.
wow, you put Trump on that?
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
facts.
It was the Post. The Post said
Yeah.
the day after he's fighting with them, embarrassing himself, disrespecting the family of a fallen U.S. soldier, an American hero. Every Republican's going, oh God, what are you saying? All of a sudden, the New York Post, the most beloved paper of the Trump campaign, receives exclusive photos of Melania Trump naked.
The one
Come on.
the one problem with that is that the animating idea there is that Trump wanted to move on from the Khan
You're right.
debate.
You know what? You're right.
And
Yeah,
he shows no
that-
desire to
you're
move
right.
on. He's still on it, and his spokespeople too are still on it, talking about they viciously attacked him. He is the villain. He is the victim here. I mean, like, they could move on super easily. Like, just stop
and then,
talking
of course,
about the Khans.
The Khan family is saying, like, we want to move on. We're
We're
ready.
done with
We're
him.
done with this. We're ready to move
God,
on.
This was the most. I mean, like, when I saw Keezer Khan at the DNC, I was like, wow, that man is powerful. Like, wow, he's a good speaker. And then you find out there were no notes. This was not like the Clinton campaign told him what to do. And then you find out, like, oh, he's Harvard Law. Like, oh, this man is like serious and official, and he's dignified and he's humble, and you don't want it with Keezer Khan.
Really? I knew when he pulled out the Constitution, he was not to be played with.
And that the Constitution was dog-eared. Like, this is real. I didn't just pick this up on my way over here. Like,
By the way,
this
how
is
many
my thing.
How many awesome
Yo,
like
and
metaphors
they
are
told
there?
him- He was like, yo, I've read it.
You could borrow mine.
Have you? What you're saying is against the law.
Does anybody think that Trump has actually read the Constitution?
No chance.
No.
He hasn't read.
You
Period.
guys, I don't really think about Trump seriously. The only thing I
Yeah,
think
but the
about
sad part, a lot of people
seriously
do.
is the sheep of our country who are willing to follow someone who is literally someone they only know from reality
Yes.
TV.
Well, the one
yes.
thing that I would say, and
That's
we
the
do
only
have-
thing I
But
think
we
about.
do have to take seriously that there is a large group of people who are very angry with the direction of the economy, and they feel it's not working for them, and it is not working.
I'm
for
gonna tell you
them.
what they're really angry
And
about.
and Trump
They're
is not
angry
the
that they've
answer.
had a black leader
No.
for 8 years.
No, not entirely. Not
Facts,
entirely.
bro.
Not entirely. No, the
Facts.
Republican Party's been working this group of people for decades.
Since the Tea Party. The
Right?
Tea Party thing,
but
too?
this predates the Tea Party, right? This Midwestern, Rust Belt, and Southern group of people who are like, my grandfather had this farm, my father had this farm, and now I'm going into foreclosure. And I can't take care of my family the way that my father took care of us, the way his grandfather took care.
I give you that.
And what are we going to do? And the Republicans have successfully for decades made them think, don't vote on your economics. Vote on welfare queens. Vote on, gays want to get married. Vote on more Muslims or more abortion, or Mexicans want to come. Vote on those
Whatever
things.
has nothing to do with something that would positively impact your life.
Exactly. But these people have been angry about their economic station for years, for decades.
Yet they
And
don't want to vote with the party that would actually help.
I agree.
support
Well, the Democrats going forward are going to have to do a better job of figuring out how do we talk to these white males who are in the South, the Midwest, the Rust Belt, Appalachia, who are like, fuck the Democratic Party. How do we bring them in and make them feel like, hey, we're not just for blacks and women and gays and
isn't
Latinos.
that the Timmy Kaine move?
Yeah, but
Some of that, the
he's
Virginia
Joe
still.
thing.
Biden, partly.
Yeah, there's
Well,
partly.
how did Clinton do with them when you have this Arkansas boy coming up? Like,
Clinton did better with them, which is why finally you ended 12 years of Republican presidencies, right? Because he was the first one who was able, but he moved to the right. He was more of a centrist versus the Democratic progressives who we'd been expecting for so long. So he did better, but I mean, just the way we talk to these folks can be a little bit better to help them understand.
Well, you said we, like you're on the Democratic.
I mean, just
Right, campaigning.
I mean, I am a Democrat. I'm a lifelong Democrat. I don't work with the Democratic Party, but I understand. You know, I mean, the fortunes of the Democratic Party have a
I
massive
was just
impact on
checking.
our
I was
lives.
I was just checking to see if you was a part of the propaganda machine. Don't get on.
No, hold on.
I feel you.
I have some other questions for you with regard to the party. Now, first of all, we had Marc Lamont Hill sat here a couple weeks ago. And we had a good conversation with him, and I really, and it was, at one point we talked about hip hop. I thought him and I became best friends. Then I was talking to my dad the other day, who comes up to me and says, and keep in mind, I'll be totally honest. Marc Lamont Hill, previous to that, was just a name that I kind of saw pop up, but I wasn't overly familiar with his work.
Yeah.
I don't sit. I mean, I know Toure from all of his awesome writing, and I know he's on TV, but I don't watch a lot of random talk on television like that.
Right.
So my dad says, "Who's this Marc Lamont guy? And why is he in the New York Times?" And I was like, "I don't know. We had him on the show. He's promoting something." And my dad pointed out that he only hinted it at one point during our interview that he is not pro-Obama. He only indicated at one point during our interview.
Did you not know that?
I don't pay attention to that stuff. I really didn't
Are you
know.
saying, I didn't know Mark was not pro-Obama?
Mark, no, my dad is the most pro-Obama.
Right.
Marc Lamont Hill
Mark is critical.
Very critical of President Obama, right? And then I was also told yesterday that
And that's based in him thinking that Obama hasn't been
Could do more.
vocal enough with regard to black issues specifically and being just generally progressive.
Yeah, Mark is critical of him from the left.
Right, which I by the way, I do get.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I inherently resent it because I love the president so much, but some of that is now bias and a mix of weird emotional love that many of us have for him.
Sure.
But also, I was told yesterday, and this could be false, but I heard Anderson Cooper, and there are other people, I'm not trying to go only at people who appear on CNN, who have said they won't come out and say who they're voting for, or they have said outright that they are not voting for either party, or that they're not interested in Hillary either. And I just feel like my point of all that was to ask you, how have we gotten to this point where the weird right-wing hate of Hillary that's been so vitriolic and crazy has now even made some people on the left agree that she is really bad and that that Benghazi and the emails and all these stories aren't overhyped bullshit that really tarnish her in a way that's not warranted?
I mean, a bunch of things. Excellent question. I mean, you know, I love Mark. He's a friend. He's brilliant. I'm not sure what his specific critique is, so I'm not going to speak to.
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll get into that next.
I'm not going to speak to him directly here, but I mean, you know, yes, the right has been attacking Hillary and Bill for 25 some years, and they have succeeded in making people feel like you can't trust her. Some of that is earned, that she has done some shady things that created, you know, the appearance of maybe we can't trust her. Some of it's about being a woman, right? That women typically are just not believed when they speak, especially women who seek power, who are ambitious.
Watch her. You got to watch her. You know, all that
I
bullshit.
mean, you know, when there's this sheen of smoke around Hillary, right? Untrustworthiness, right? You know, and then they point
and then the
to
status quo.
They
and
point to
yeah.
the CGI, right? The Clinton Global Initiative. They point to the emails. They point to Benghazi. And I'm always like, okay, so you have circumstantial evidence there, basically. What is the real evidence? What is the thing? If you call somebody evil, then what is the evil thing that they did? If you say somebody you know, is a horrible person, what is the thing? And there's no burger. There's no there. There's no meat that says this is the I mean, like, do you think she killed Vince Foster? Do you think that she knew that that Ambassador Stevens and them were under trouble and went to bed? I mean, and people on the right actually think that. Part of what has happened is that that the right has said to their people, don't believe the media, only believe what we say. And Fox is the most moderate out of those folks who they're talking about Alex Jones, Rush Limbaugh,
Hannity,
Matt Drudge,
Mark Levin, like way right, like Hillary knew that Stevens was about to die. She was watching it live and she went to bed like, fuck them. Who really? That's what but people believe this. Like, you know, the Saudis are paying them and they're taking care of them. And I mean, they've been saying that for decades, but when you don't believe objective media, right? When objective media like the New York Times, Washington Post is too lefty for you, then you are in a bubble of information that is only saying Hillary's evil.
But how did it get to the point that even people who are
Well,
somewhat liberal
part of the
go, I
problem-
won't vote for her. I'm just not voting for anyone.
But
Well,
part
what
of the
you're
problem
asking
is
is-
part of the problem is radio, and obviously not this station. But at the time when, and you may know the exact history of some of this better, but when the radio changed to where you didn't have to have both sides, and you could have a station that just drives conservative or just progressive radio, then we really started to be bifurcated in this country, and we are so sorted that the majority of Obama voters live within like a mile of a Starbucks, and the majority of Romney voters live within like a mile of a Walmart. So the corporations have already noticed the self-segregation that we have done, which is why the House of Republicans is the House of Representatives is such a mess, right? Because as a Republican, you're not going to lose, right? As long as you represent Republican
By the way,
principles.
guys, he was pointing to me as an example. I'm not a Republican. Just-
And then but then somebody says we're going to primary him, right? That means we're going to attack him from the right. So the districts keep getting righter and righter and righter. This doesn't actually serve America as a whole, but when you go home, everybody in your area is Republican. So the House just keeps moving.
Okay, but
further
my
And
further
you're,
into
more
wilderness.
prone to believe your neighbors and your congregation
But I'm still asking
than you
about-
are to
Yes. But
we
believe
both-
just some guy on the news.
reason I brought up Mark, for example, we all know smart, liberal-leaning people who are putting up posts that basically say nope or noper. Like they're comparing Hillary to Trump
Okay,
almost.
look,
like
because-
I can't
right,
vote
but
for
you
either.
guys,
As
you guys.
we've
Toure, one second. With the Bernie Sanders splintering,
And that's a big part of it, I think.
right? Where people were really, really passionate about that very progressive individual and his ideas. And a lot of people were rallying behind that and wanted to see that. Hillary's very center, right? So you have people who were really over here and who are really politically this far left with their politics who aren't prepared to just come out and say, you know what? Since Bernie didn't win, we're going to go with Hillary. They're just not doing it because they know, and this is all marketing and for their fans, they know it's going to upset some of their base. Let's just keep it 100. Anderson knows it's going to upset some of his base. Mark Lamont Hill knows he's going to be arguing with Black Lives Matter individuals all in his comments, et cetera, et cetera. So they prefer to not get into that argument right now.
90% of the Bernie folks are going with Hillary.
Is that what they're saying? 90?
90?
Yeah, so most of the and this was
But you know,
weeks ago,
so
most of them are on the
Instagram is
team.
more important. Your Instagram comments are way more important than facts. Come on, man.
Indeed.
That's all you need.
But look, just to be 100 about it, because we've already gone through Trump and his deep problems, character, intellect, everything. Hillary is a deeply unliked character.
Yeah.
Is a deeply unliked candidate. She is the most unliked candidate in history, except for Donald Trump. Right? These people have massive disapproval ratings. Hillary's approval rating changed about 5 points in her favor after the DNC. So, like, good for that. Good for her, creating a new face for some people. But a lot of people just don't like her, and a lot of that stuff is just lizard brain stuff. If you meet somebody for just a minute and get a vibe off them and just...
Well, no, and let's
You
be
know?
honest. And let's be honest. She's Hillary, the person, the politician, is not gumdrops and teddy bears.
She's also not revolutionary.
She's not revolutionary.
Which I would hope for from a Democrat at this point in history. I would hope for a woman to be like, look, the only chance that I'm going to have to push through is to be a revolutionary. And I'm not
She's
even
not
talking
that, for
about
sure.
what Bernie talked about, but talk about things that really matter, that are aggressive, that are really going to change society. I think she's going to be a good president because I think she's a pragmatic progressive, that she understands what she can get done and she's going to get those things done or try to get those things done. I imagine we're still going to see the same sort of obstruction
That Obama
we
dealt with.
saw.
Well, because you got to
under Obama.
those seats are coming up in the House that people got to vote for. What 88% of the seats are coming up, right?
Well,
In a couple years, not soon,
The
but
House is never going to change unless they reapportion the districts, right? Because the districts are drawn in these bizarre ways, such that let's make sure we get all the Republicans in your district and all the Dems in your district, and you don't have to fight. The Senate, I would lay money at this point. The Senate will be blue, at least 51 or 52 Democrat by the end of after November, by the end of January.
And I agree with you, by the way, about Hillary. Is she my favorite candidate? No. Do I am I as passionately about her as I was even Al Gore in 2000? No, I'm definitely not. But that said, it's been overstated now. The fact, and they did a great job in the DNC in reminding us of that video before Hillary spoke, of reminding you why she got into the game. Now, is she now a career politician? Yeah, but got news for you. So is our beloved Barack.
Yeah.
They're not that different.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Their career, but they started. The Clintons and the Obamas are similar in a lot of ways in that sense. They started with real desired purpose to help, and they became politicians, and that's who they are.
There's nothing inherently wrong with being a lifelong politician. Bernie Sanders is a career politician.
100%.
I mean,
by the way, you spent many years. The world wasn't. Everyone acts as if Bernie has this, like he's an outsider.
Yeah.
Bernie's been hanging out in Washington for 30 years.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he hasn't done anything, but the world hasn't changed under his watch.
I mean, he's an independent, right? So that's a little bit what they mean about being an outsider.
Okay, sure.
But I mean, there is a value in knowing how all this stuff works, right? I was watching Maddow last night, right? And she talked about how the night before Obama was inaugurated, the night before, he was at an event honoring John McCain because he understands at a deep level that we're all in this together. The nation must move forward, right? It's not that I defeat you and you are vanquished to jail, as it is in some other countries, that we continue living and working together. And I don't think that Trump understands that, partly because that is not the culture of where he comes from.
He understands that. He's just a reality show host running a circus and getting the most entertainment value and ratings that he can.
I think
that's what he's doing.
I think that he is getting all that, but to think that he is not showing
he
his
hangs
true
out
self,
with the Clintons. Wasn't one of them at his
he used
wedding
to,
or
yeah.
something or some shit?
Yeah,
Like
they were at his
friends.
They were at his
Fuck
wedding.
outta here.
But
They're all
to-
friends.
That was
but
a long
to-
time ago.
But to think that he is
You think they're still friends?
pretending,
You think they're still friends?
Absolutely.
No, you don't.
Absolutely.
Hold on. I want to.
Absolutely.
Let's. You think that Hillary Clinton is still friends with Donald Trump?
I don't think they talk right now, but when all this is said and done, they will be cordial with each other and they'll be as cool as they were before this.
they'll be cordial because I think Hillary understands that she has to be cordial with all her constituents, which would be all Americans. But I don't think Donald Trump has any friends, really, and I don't even mean that as a
Well, then he
diss.
never had friends.
No,
If
but
that's the case.
but I just
He's
watched
not
a
that sort
feature.
of person.
The other, I mean, I saw a feature recently about his previous history with Bloomberg, which was long and detailed. I mean, they weren't best friends, but they made money together and did work together.
Yeah.
And I know it broke his little pathetic heart to see Bloomberg go up there and
Totally.
scorch him in front of the country.
Totally.
That hurts.
And
I don't know that he's going to recover from it. This could
Bloomberg-
end with him jumping. I mean, I don't want to say, well, it could or could not happen. It could end with him jumping off of a Trump tower on national television. The ultimate reality show.
You guys know how many L's Donald Trump has taken in public?
Not like this. Not
No,
like
this is the biggest one, but
This is a story.
he's been catching L's and people have been making fun of Donald Trump
And real
for
quick,
the longest
But
time, guys.
nobody took him seriously, right? He was a New York Post tabloid thing.
But that's
he said
my
something
point.
Stupid
But
about
that's
the Central
my
Park
point.
5. He said something stupid about Ed Koch. He said
Tour de
something,
Trump University,
Yeah,
his
now
hair,
it's
his tan,
different.
his wives,
But
his
you don't agree.
bankruptcy.
You don't think this is all different now?
No, it's at a different level,
The
yeah, but
stakes.
But Ebro, this
stakes
is
for who? He
but
has
this is-
nothing to lose,
This
guys.
is unprecedented. This has never happened before.
I think he.
No,
I think
we've
he does
never
have something
seen-
to- I think
what
he
does
does
he have to
something-
lose?
I think he has to lose his standing in the country, which is
Which was
critical.
what?
Which was What he was.
He was the host of The
he-
Apprentice.
No.
Very popular show.
That's
What
a
are we
si-
talking about?
That's a side piece. You know this. He's a real estate developer, and he needs
no.
relationships globally to
He
make
is a
that happen.
businessman who built a name that he would throw on buildings and it would value the building.
He's a developer.
So that might be the only thing he has at stake is that now, if he loses this, if his name up on that building in Atlantic City or in Las Vegas or up here on the Upper West Side, wherever, whatever, people look at the building and go, well, shit, that building sucks now.
Not even the past stuff, right? And a lot of that stuff is owned
You
by
think people are
Chinese
not
and
going to
Japanese
his golf
investors.
courses with his names on it?
I think that it will be more difficult for him to do business going from, I'm not saying he's going to end up broke, but new business will be more difficult to create because a lot of people will be saying, I don't want to be in bed with this guy.
I gotta see it to believe it.
Can you imagine
I gotta see it
how
to
many
believe it.
businessmen are going to go home and say, trying to close a deal with Trump, and their wives will be like, oh, hell no.
How many people propped him up this far, though? Of those same people. He didn't do this by himself, guys.
So how many of those people that even propped him up have now fallen off since?
I don't know, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
he didn't do this
He's
by
more
himself.
lonely every week. I
Yeah.
mean, this is getting. Listen, I don't disagree with you inherently that he's going to fall apart tomorrow. But
guys.
Ibra, hold on. Also, this
He'll
isn't
still
over
be
yet.
a character, man.
But this isn't over yet. He could get worse. He keeps saying
could
things
get
every
worse.
week that are worse.
You're right.
He could be one.
But he's
he
still-
Could, all right, hold on. What would you
Trump
say?
wants to come up after he loses this. Trump wants to come up on this program after he loses. We're not having him on.
Well, of course you would.
He's
but that's
not going.
different.
He's
Of course
not
you
going
would.
on every single interview
course.
after he loses this. He's not going on every TV
And
show
he's-
after
and
this.
he's not- he's not a
There's not going to
diminished
be a
person.
documentary on this. There's
But
not
that's
going to
me-
be like, what
but
are you
that's-
talking about?
That's media. Of course, media will talk to anybody who's
But that's
interested.
what his get. But that's why he
business.
exists.
But what about business?
Did you read the article from the lady who used to write for the Daily News, who wrote an apology?
Yes.
Because she was the one that
Yes.
covered him in the 80s when he used to just randomly call her and go,
pretend to be
hey, you
someone
know what
else?
I'm about to do, and pretend to be someone else and prop
Yes.
himself up, and she would write the
Yes.
stories, and he became a thing. The same shit is gonna happen. After he loses this, he's gonna go on every show. He's gonna do every interview. He's gonna be on every magazine. There's gonna be another show. He's gonna wheel out his kids. He's gonna wheel out his
but
wife.
He becomes tawdry, becomes embarrassing,
Nah, B.
becomes
Not
you're
for-
a
not for
post,
scumbags.
You're a loser.
You know how many scumbags I've seen in this game?
You know,
stay
it's kinda
around
like,
for a
but
long
you know what
time.
it's like. It's kind of like Mike Tyson, and I know Mike, and I loved Mike when he was doing his thing. I was a fan before he became a champ. Loved him as a champ. I forgave a lot of things. He's done a lot of even Barkley is even
And where's
better
Mike
example.
right now? Where's Mike right now? Beloved. People love Mike Tyson.
Mike changed. Mike changed for the better in the last 5 years
you guys,
to 10 years.
We still haven't talked about your podcast and your book, and I got to wrap this up. Never forget, America loves a comeback story. Never forget.
I don't know about this.
Yeah.
So no, I appreciate you segueing.
Oh, and another thing that America likes is good-looking, beautiful people. Have you looked at Donald Trump's kids? They're gonna walk out and be beautiful, amazing. His wife's gonna walk out.
His daughter's gonna do his daughter or his son will be fine. I agree with you on that. In fact, he could still have a political career. He could distance himself from his father one day and probably still do things if he wanted to.
You underestimate, you
Many
guys.
people said
You guys.
that.
A
So let me-
reality show host
let
is
me tell
running
them.
for president of your country. Our country.
Your country,
My country.
our country.
I like Japan, though.
It was great.
Stop.
All right, Toure, what's the name of your podcast?
The podcast is called Love City. We look at things that people love, cultural things that people love, and talk about why we love them. The first episode came out last Wednesday. It was about Prince. Today's episode is about shell toes. We talk about, going back to Joe the Destroyer Hammond, how he was rocking them in Harlem. That made people want to wear them. But the Adidas was cold. It was ice cold, right? At this point, when the shell toe starts blowing up in New York City in hip hop communities. DMC and Run were among the teenagers who caught the influence from Joe. So I talked to DMC, I talked to Bobbito.
So this is
There's this great moment, right, where I got Russell, DMC, Bill Adler, all these people who were at the Garden show where Run said, hold up your sneakers, and everybody held up their Adidas, and there was a rep from Adidas, Angelo Anastasio, who played with Pele and the New York Cosmos, right? He was there, and he was like, oh, shit, because Russell and Lior made sure he was there, right? I talked to Andre Harrell, right? And he went back to Germany and convinced, the Dasslers that, we got to sign these. He's like, this is the hardest thing I ever had to do, to go to Germany and convince the Dasslers to sign these, rappers, because rappers,
Black kids.
right? Black rappers from America. It was a very difficult sell in like 86 about like, we're going to sign them to $1 million deal. They're going to promote us. Very difficult. And DMC told me this amazing story about how once he went to a store, they didn't have shell toes that fit the color of the outfit that he was rocking. So he just bought these Air Force Ones. He was walking down the street, and the whole world was like, what the fuck? What the
What are
fuck?
you
What the
doing?
fuck? This bus driver pulled over and was like, what are you doing?
That is
he
amazing.
had to stop and throw him out because he's like, the world will not let me
So you're doing
wear
this
Nikes.
in other words, and I've been waiting for someone great who puts in the effort to do this. Your podcast is being done like miniature documentary style.
It is
This isn't
documentary
sitting and just
style.
doing a long interview. You're putting together packages,
Yes.
interviewing multiple people.
Yes.
So when you sit down, how long is an episode?
The episode's about an hour, a little under
So about an hour.
hour.
That's like real documentary style audio.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Real journalists doing a real
Real.
podcast
Can you believe that?
about hip hop and
Well,
no,
culture
about
and
culture,
fashion.
yeah. Oh, I gotta listen to the Prince one.
Yeah, it's called Love City. Yo, the Prince one's awesome, man. I mean, talk to all these people around him, engineers, tour managers, you know, I mean, people who loved him, who worked with him. You know,
Any family?
I talked to his first. I mean, he doesn't have any real family who we could speak to. His parents are long gone. His brothers and sisters, he did not know. They don't know him. Right?
And he lived with with his friend's family.
But
right?
I did. He grew up living in Andre Simone's mother's house. I talked to him for another thing, but I talked to the woman Susanna Melvoin who he proposed to. Right, she was originally supposed to be the star of Under a Cherry Moon. At the last minute, they're in France, and he's like, you know, what if you didn't do the movie? And she's like, all right, if that's what you want, because I want you to be my wife. And she's like, but that whole story is preceded by this whole Van Cleef and Arpels moment earlier in New York that he gave her this big ring. But it's like one of these promise ring situations. Like he gives her this gigantic ring, but he doesn't propose.
Yeah.
And she's like, this ring is amazing. I'm like, I didn't hear a proposal in there. And then later in France, he actually proposes to her. Obviously, they did not get married because we know who he married. But incredible story. You know?
How well did you know Prince over the years covering him?
I mean, you know, I interviewed him once. I played basketball, one-on-one basketball with him once, as like
Who
separate
won?
occasions. I mean,
Tell the truth.
the truth is that the one-on-one was not that fruitful. It might have been like 3-3 after like 15 minutes because, you know, like
You're both trash.
We can both play, but neither of us can shoot. Yeah, I mean, like, look,
At this point.
I mean, look, I was never a great shooter, but I love playing basketball, right? I mean, I think I look like I can play, but I'm not going to be knocking down 3-pointers. I understand that. I'm not.
But
in
Prince
the gym
was known
shooting.
for his crossover and his quickness.
Prince was quick. He could cross over. He looked like a ball player. I mean, again,
Did he have high heels on when you guys were playing?
no, we played. He had
Blouses?
How's
he had
that
a
outfit?
Scoop neck, black top, black bell bottoms, but he had his man pull out a box of basketball sneakers. He put on white Air Force Ones with a red swoosh, and we're balling. And he's
With
like
bell
doing it.
bottoms.
Now, I mean,
Why
the
don't
whole
you just retire? You should retire.
the
What
whole
are you gonna do?
thing was that we saw the one-on-one was fun, but it wasn't really going anywhere because neither of us were really scoring that much. So then we pull in his bassist, Morris Hayes, who's about 6'4", and my photographer put down his camera, and the two of them were playing against the two of us. So now
You should retire.
we're
Life
going
can't
out
get
of
better
it.
than this.
Well, no, it can get
got better.
Oh, it can get better.
He made pancakes.
This is the symbol era.
You and Michael Jackson played tennis.
No, look, no, this is the symbol era period, right? When he doesn't have
Yes.
a pronounceable name. There was no name that you were supposed to be able to verbalize
Half cap.
at that
How did you
time,
refer
right?
to him as?
God,
So we're
so
playing,
tight.
and, you know, I mean, I grew up with Magic Johnson, right? So, I mean, you know, like, I like to be the point guard, and I like to do no-look passes, like, make it quick, like, make the other team not. So, you know, I see that he's open. I pass the ball to Prince, and I tell the story in the podcast. I pass the ball to Prince, and I see he does not know that the ball is coming. So I'm like, oh, it's going to hit him in the face. I'm like, God. So I'm going to yell out, Prince. So I do that. But then as I'm saying that, I realize you're not supposed to say that. You could get kicked out of Paisley Park for saying Prince
So the
at this
ball
point.
hits Prince in the face.
No, so it's more like...
And
So
the ball stops in midair and floats there because it's Prince, and he just stops it.
So the ball misses him and
God.
goes out of bounds, and he goes and gets it, and he's coming back, and he's giggling. And I'm like, what's so funny? And he goes, you didn't know what to call me. And he loved that we were confused.
That's incredible.
That's
That
so awesome.
is
That's classic Prince, though.
Yeah.
that is so fucking good.
And there's more to that story that I tell on the show. the podcast.
And what's it called again?
Love City is
Love
the
City.
podcast.
And you're currently working on 2 books right now.
I'm working on 2 books. One of them I want to definitely dig into with you. I'm doing Rakim's autobiography, so we're working on that. I was supposed to be out of the house yesterday, but something happened. I'm gonna be back out there next week. But I'm working on another book, which is part of why I wanted to come here today and speak to your listeners a little bit. I'm doing a book on why men cheat. Why do married men go outside the home and get other stuff? And I've talked to 33 guys anonymously, no identifying details. Guys are telling me amazing stories. And guys want to get this stuff off their
Oh, of
chest. They're like,
course.
I never talk about this stuff. I never get to talk this way. Women talk in intimate ways
Right.
about their heart in ways that men never do. So guys are like, oh, thank you so much for
Men
having
never
that
share
conversation.
cheating stories. That's not a thing.
We share
With
cheating
who?
stories.
Yeah,
but-
With each
dirtbags.
other.
Like, only
Yeah.
the
It's just-
most dirty
I
of the
hear it.
dirtbags.
It's the most dirty, but you gotta have your friends, your close friends, you know, aren't gonna say anything.
Mm-hmm.
But to really share your heart is unusual. But I want to hear if you're a married guy and you are or you were screwing around on the side. I want to hear from you. I will not tell anybody your name. There will be no identifying details in the book, but you got to tell me your story.
Of the 33
You
individuals.
You can email me.
Yes, this is important.
At toureshow@gmail.com.
TOURE show@gmail.com.
And
Yes,
can
if
we
it-
keep? I want to keep this going.
Please.
This as
Yeah,
you
yeah,
get
yeah.
more people.
Yeah.
Toure show@gmail.com. Email if you're married now or were married and you
Are
went
or were
got some side
cheating,
squishy.
Please let me know.
Of the 33 people you've talked to, is there a common theme yet?
There's a few common themes. I mean, it seems like a lot of guys break down into either it's more pragmatic. I'm not getting enough attention and love at home. We got 2-3 kids. She's more focused on them. She's always tired. I need to go do something else to take care of myself. There's a group of those guys. And then there's the guys who are like, I am
Ego.
yes,
an
ego.
ego thing.
I am the ape that has the shiniest coat. I am the flamingo that has the biggest feathers, and
Adam.
I need extra women to further prove to myself and maybe to the society that I am bigger than the average bear.
That's the one.
And they may
That
or
is
may
the
not.
one.
Yeah, that's
be
the only one I can
having-
relate to. I can relate to the
Out
first
of the 33 men, do all of them have children?
No, no, it's not. They don't all have kids. I mean, there's a huge variety. They're white and black, different ages, regional, all over the place. There's not like a consistent like.
Give me
all of
one full government name of someone you talked to.
Yeah.
You know, in a lot of cases, I don't know their last names, right? Because they emailed me, they were John, you know, and we just talked. I don't need to know everything about you. You can tell me your story, and it will go nowhere.
Let me ask you one question before we out of here. Do you, after talking to these 33 men and just your life, do you believe that monogamy is for everyone?
No. I never believe monogamy is for everyone. It's for some people, and it may be of value to some people and their spirit and their heart. But no, it's not for everyone. I mean, for some people, they just can't do it at all, you know? And I understand that. And look, this is not to say that everybody in this discussion is a rabid dog, right?
Right, right.
And I'm not judging the people who need extra pussy, right? But there's definitely guys who are saying, hey, I did this for a period of my life, and now at the stage of my life, it's not a value. I can't do that anymore. It's you know, the karmic implications or, you know, the potential of not waking up and seeing my kids every day or what have you. So, I mean, there's definitely guys who are saying, you know, no more, no mas. And there's guys who are like, you know,
It's never going to
This is
stop.
my
it's never
life,
gonna.
yeah.
You know, one guy was like, I'm like, well, you screwing around now? And he's like, no, but you know, that's just because there's nobody.
Now
here
that you
right
brought it
now.
up,
There's just
Why,
No,
you know
because there's no
someone?
one around.
I just don't have a girlfriend right now, but I hope to in a couple of months. Like, wow, okay.
well, I think
That's
your follow
tiring.
up.
But look, the
I think your
email-
follow up needs to be, why do women like men that do cheat?
Ooh, that's a whole other thing. Listen. Just let if you screw around, please email me. I want to hear your story. Toure
like
Show
it, boy.
Scumbags,
at
please.
gmail.com.
Yeah, they like it.
Please get out. We want to know. We want to tell a story.
Why
We
do
wanna
men
be
cheat
out.
is volume 1, and the follow up will be why women like men that do cheat.
Well, because women like men, and as you're probably finding out, 90% of them cheat.
No, you think it's 90?
No.
I
But
don't know.
70?
No, I don't have never. No.
Yes,
What do you think? A percentage?
Well, it's hard to say. It's hard to say a percentage.
Well, I think there's cheating, and then there's cheaters.
I think there's
like
less
there's
than,
you know what I mean.
think
That's
there's
different.
less than 50 because a lot of
Wow.
guys, yeah. I think there's a level of
Bless you.
courage that many people lack. I think there are people who want to do it, but they don't have the courage to
Right,
do
right,
it.
right.
Yes, that's a
And
very
there
good
are
point.
people who don't
Smart.
have, you know, like with Chris Rock, right? Men are as faithful as their options. There are people who lack that option. They don't have the game or the wherewithal or maybe even the time. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, at this age, right? You're married, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm not married.
Excuse me, but you're a parent,
Yes.
right?
Married to Jade.
You know, so I mean, like,
Time is definitely an issue.
it becomes hard, right? How do we make new friends at this
Yeah, no,
age?
we're not.
It's hard because
When do you get together?
I work. I'm with my kids. I'm with my kids. Like, when do I meet new people? Especially a
Only
woman
women I get to
who's
see
going
is
to be
fucking people, right?
outside of this nuclear
Yeah,
family
useless.
entirely.
Oh,
By the way, this is the thing that's always miffed me about cheating. I understand. And what do you do? Like, your wife's at work and you like go to a hotel. It's just like, what? No, sounds insane. It sounds insane.
No, that's
I get,
normal.
I get how rock stars cheat. They're on the road nonstop.
Basketball,
I get it.
football,
Oh,
blah, blah,
boom. All makes sense.
baseball.
I mean,
But you just go to work every day, and then when your wife's like, "What are you doing?" You're like, "Oh, nothing." What are you, 8 years old? It's ridiculous.
I got a guy who has an apartment downtown. He moved his girlfriend into his office. So she works in his office. And then in the afternoon, when his wife presumably is picking up the kids from school and doing the afternoon stuff, they go to their little secret apartment, banging out, and then they go their separate ways.
See,
And she gets to keep that apartment, and she lives in that apartment. She's taken care of.
No, she's married.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's an agreement.
Both of them
Whoa.
are married.
Because I know that scenario before.
well, at least they make the
Yes.
time work.
And that's a popular one.
This all sounds like a lot of work, though.
A lot of work.
It is a lot of work,
work.
and people talk about that. Like this guy I talked the other day about. I had to stop because it was getting in the way of my paper. Because I'm spending too much time thinking about how do I please my girlfriend? You know, she's mad at me. Let me give her this. I had to take her out, do her that. I got to keep my lies straight. And so this is
a lot.
my
Wait,
share,
and
and then I
this-
got to deal with my business. This
In
too
this
much.
book, do you delineate between like people having like full-on relationships on the side versus people who just tagging something on it? Is that, do you make that?
I mean, you know what? Honestly,
Because there's definitely the scenario where it's like, I just tag something, it's whatever. Pfft. And then there's the people who are like, the apartment,
Right,
the
yeah,
vacation,
taking care of them, the
and going
cars.
to dinners and all this other
this
shit.
one brother I heard
like,
about
yo, bro,
lives
come on.
in the South. Okay, his girlfriend lives in D.C. They needed a place to meet. They decided on Atlanta would be their meeting point. Okay, so he needs, he needs to tell his wife something to have him go to Atlanta all the time.
Right.
So he tells his wife that he's created this civil rights organization.
Oh, good God. All right, this interview's over.
And
Thank
he
you,
breaks
Toure.
it-
Toure show, no. This guy doesn't
Come back.
deserve
Come
my
back.
time.
And he
I
breaks
can't.
down
No.
the Civil
No.
Rights Organization.
No.
And he's go to Atlanta all the time. And then her father gets worse. Her father, who was actually in the civil rights movement, says, I want to see your civil rights organization. I'm very interested. He's not suspicious at all. He just wants to see it.
That's stupid.
So next thing you know, they're in Atlanta. This guy, his girlfriend, another person, with the dad, talking about the gala that they're planning for their civil
That's
rights
too far.
organization.
And he made the girlfriend a part of
that's
the
a
organization
lot.
because he needed a body.
It's too far. It's too much. Toure Show at Gmail. If you're a cheating man, you want to
Please.
tell your story for his book,
Please.
the Rakim autobiography, also, and the show that you're on.
Love City is the podcast.
Yes.
Please check that out.
Thanks,
Always
man.
good to
Lots
see you.
going
Give it
on.
up to
Thank
Toure.
you, brother. Thank you.